Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. See, I went and ordered that time. Welcome to Ian Zev's life. This is going to be a controversial one. Anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Ian. I had a medical procedure done. That's why my voice is all messed up, but the ride still got a ride. As always, if you're going through any pain, something serious, or something that could be serious, if it's physical, call 911 and shut this off. If it's emotional, call 988, which is like the 911 for mental health. If you observe me spitting out of my mouth, it's because that's how I'm processing food these days. But we're going to have some fun today, and I'm going to piss some people off because I'm going to talk about how the Democrats, my party, have been destroying any goodwill, which was small to begin with, that they may have. And if they continue this line of behavior, what should be an easy senatorial map in 2026 for the Dems to take back will be held by the Republicans. Same applies to the House. The Democrats need to stop acting a fool. Now, I wrote this outline 2 days ago, really wasn't feeling well, so wanted to record it. Now, so when I woke up, I turned on my YouTube, and I was happy. I saw Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, which is progressive, and I agree with 85% of what they say, on Timcast IRL, which is a Trump-supporting network. And they were talking civil. Maybe the right populists and the left populists can come together. Although I don't really understand how you can be a Republican and a populist. Maybe someone can explain that to me. Also, the night before, which was Sunday night, Trump completely crapped the bed on Meet the Press, giving Democrats so many sound bites, so much opportunity to just go in. Like, didn't you say you had a healthcare plan that was going to be really, really great and replace Obamacare? Didn't you say that in 2015? Well, you're going to get inaugurated in 2025, and you're still talking about concepts of a plan. So I'm like, yes, boom, good week for the Democrats. Then I changed the station. But before, I want to remind everyone to like, comment, and subscribe. I have no one paying the bills here. So, I'm not at the point where I have sponsors. So, share it. I mean, I'm a hardcore Democrat. Let's get that out of the way. I believe in socialized medicine, LGBTQ rights, a $25 minimum wage, ending the stigma of mental illness and addiction. What I believe when it comes to guns will never happen because it is too extreme. But strong gun regulation. I am looking, especially get money out of politics. Because once you accept donor money, you are at the whim of the donor class. That's what happened to Trump at the beginning of his first term. Remember, there was a gun incident, and he said, take everyone's guns first, then research, then we'll give them back if they pass. And everyone at the table went ape, S-H-I-D, because he wasn't supposed to say that. But that's the occasional time that Truth Trump comes out, until the lobbyists take him in the back, give him a little paddling, throw him out there, and he's at their whim. Okay? So, I'm more progressive now than I was before the election. I really am. However, one thing I just want to get out of the way. One thing I do not believe is bad, that a lot of people are coming down on the president, is the pardoning of his son, Hunter. People say it's nepotism. Of course. Every pardon is nepotism. Every pardon that's ever been given is because of nepotism, either personal or political. But, Joe said he wouldn't. Of course, that's what he had to say. And I bet you he wouldn't have had Kamala won. But you can't trust Trump and this insane cabinet he's trying to put together. That's for another day, where I'm going to go over his cabinet picks. Talk about the good and the bad. Because we're fair here on Ian Zev's life. And if something goes against my team, you better believe you'll be hearing it. So, pardoning Hunter, first off, Hunter in recovery, supposedly. 5.5 years clean, supposedly. But look how much he's been tortured. Marjorie Taylor Greene literally showed a picture of his stuff, a poster, in Congress. There should be a rule. If your junk is shown on a poster in Congress, you get a pardon. I'm going to propose that law. But look at Joe Biden's family life, for sure. He spent the past 4 years dealing with this imaginary Biden crime family. How do I know it's imaginary? Because they spent 4 years trying to connect Hunter and Joe professionally and couldn't do it. How do I know they couldn't do it? Because they would have screamed it, even if they found the smallest connection. But Joe Biden has led a tragic life. He got married at a young age, had 3 children. He was a representative. His wife was in a car accident. She died. His baby daughter died. And Hunter and Beau broke all the bones in their body. I don't care where you stand politically, nobody should go through that. If Trump dealt with that with his children, he would deserve sympathy and empathy. And then, somehow, Joe finds love again with Jill. They have a daughter. And then Beau gets brain cancer after serving our country in Iraq and dies. So, Joe Biden doesn't need to spend his remaining years visiting his son in prison due to a messed up, illegal Justice Department, which I predict Trump will bring about. Now, that's all good that I'm going to say that the Hunter pardon, no one's going to be talking about it come election time next time around. So, leave it alone. However, I do draw the line when it comes to Democratic support at murder. I do not support murder. I am anti-capital punishment. But wait, aren't you pro-choice? Yes. At the points where I'm pro-choice, I don't believe a human life has been formed. Where that line is exactly, I don't know. There are people smarter than me to decide. But women are dying because of the Dobbs decision. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the celebration that I'm seeing from the far left activists. And I really hope it's smaller than it appears and the media is just blowing it up. But I'm seeing people I know happy that the CEO of an health insurance company was assassinated, cowardly shot in the back. There's no positive spin. I'm not even going to mention the killer's silly name. He doesn't deserve to have his name mentioned on Ian Zev's life. But, and also, he is innocent until proven guilty. Vigilantism doesn't work, is illegal, and hurts the side that people are trying to support. All this is going to do is make a bunch of extremist left-wingers act like assholes for a week until the media cycle moves to the next topic. But security at all corporations doesn't even have to be health insurance corporations is going to go sky high. Who's going to pay that? The billionaires who you believe are the enemy? No, you are. They're going to just move that cost down to the consumer. Change doesn't happen by moving around or removing chess pieces on a chessboard. Change happens systematically. I use AOC as an example. She beat, what's the guy's name? Look, I'm poorly researched. She beat a representative, I forgot his name, I'm embarrassed, who was like a 6 or 7 termer, just by knock knock. Everyone I've talked to supports universal health care. Everyone I've talked to does not support murder. I support universal health care. A lot of the beliefs, not all, in the insane manifesto that the murderer wrote makes intelligent points that I agree with. But the part about murder, No. And anyone who supports it, shame on you. People need to realize it's possible to have two countering opinions about the same issue. I just spent 37 days in the hospital and am swimming in unexpected medical debt. I am with the people who support, I'll say it, socialized medicine. That scary word, socialized medicine. Because I'm behind now. I was just getting ahead. Then I had, you could watch the other videos, the medical incident, and $800 bill, $900, boom. So I agree. And I think I was mistreated at one of the hospitals to the extent I may be bringing a lawsuit. Can't talk about that. I hate our medical system. I don't believe in a multi-payer, a single payer, a dog payer. I believe in a no payer. People have a right to good health. And putting crazy man RFK Jr. in charge of Health and Human Services does not give me optimism about whether or not we're going to move towards a more healthy society. And this is someone who's done everything possible unhealthy through his life. And finally, is trying to do the right thing. But RFK Jr., I believe is crazy. He was my professor. I knew him. And he was insane. So we need to do what works to try to help our food, like our air. We need to play a part. In Europe, the average plate is 12 inches. In America, the average plate is 18 inches. And that's not even talking about the nasty processed stuff. I'm going on a tangent, but it was murder. People are celebrating murder, and a murder that's gonna hurt their cause. And and people aren't saying, well, this is a Republican thing too. No. The media, maybe it's media spin, but I don't think so. It's the extreme left celebrating murder. Like, what was that woman's name that, I don't know why the internet isn't popping up here, but that woman who just got fired. I have to get this. Hold on. She had a station. There we go. Podcaster fired for supporting Thompson killing. What's her name? I'm unprepared. Hold on. She was on Piers Morgan yesterday. Taylor Lorenz. This woman's disgusting. She said on Piers Morgan she felt joy. Yeah, she tried to backtrack it, but not well enough. And she has hundreds of thousands of people who watch her. What's going on here? Joy? And then the liberal media tried to come down on Piers Morgan. I'm not a fan of Piers. But he was right to yell at her for saying she felt joy for the killing of Thompson. I just want to go up and see who did AOC beat. Who did AOC beat to win a House seat? No, I don't care about re-election. Do. The first time. No. Let me just Google AOC. By the way, AOC lived in a building that I lived in at one point in Boston. Not at the same time, never met her, but just kind of cool. We're both Boston University alums. She beat, for the New York's 14th District, Joe Crowley. Establishment. He was a representative from 1999 to 2019. 20 years, 10 terms. He was the chair of the Democratic caucus. And she beat him. Well, how'd she beat him? Knock, knock. Do you have a minute? I'd like to explain to you about why our healthcare system is broken. We get enough people doing that, maybe we can make change. Murder? We cannot make change. Brian Thompson is a martyr now. I never met him, and I probably would disagree with him on mostly anything. Doesn't change the fact that he has a right to live. I never use the term vigilante justice because there's nothing just about vigilantism. It's not. It's not justice. And now people are attacking the McDonald's where they found the killer, going on Yelp and Google and attacking them and attacking the worker who I'm sure has health insurance issues, attacking that person, doxing that person. Shame on you, anyone who's doing that. I don't support murder. I did make a mistake, though. And this is all people were able to throw at me, really. I called him a loving father and a loving husband. Well, in actuality, him and his wife were separated. So that people are like, how can he be a loving husband? If there's... Okay, I stand corrected. That's all you got? It has nothing to do with the issue at hand. So, shame on you. And the killer is not stupid. He was valedictorian of his private high school, got an engineering bachelor's and master's from Ivy League, UPenn. Imagine if he used his brain as opposed to his sword, or in this case, a gun. He has knowledge of philosophy, Conversations can be had about how to fix the system, but murder is not one of them. It won't accomplish anything, and it's just wrong. And we especially don't need our smarter people. Because intelligence, everyone has a talent, but everyone's not intelligent. I would say he's more intelligent than me. But what's he doing with it? Shame. People are going around deeming this a win. They're like, United Healthcare pulled a proposal to end covering anesthesia. Well, no. They have to look. They took a snippet of something and made it something it's not. In reality, what they were doing was proposing putting a time limit on coverage for anesthesia for elective surgery, not necessary surgery. So, like facelifts, stuff like that. And this was only being proposed in 3 states: Missouri, Connecticut, and New York. Not all 50. And they didn't pull it, they delayed it based on, I don't know, their CEO getting assassinated. Do some research, people. Stop celebrating murder, assholes. And I agree with the concept. Next, I want to talk about the Daniel Penny verdict. First, let me get this out of the way. It is a tragedy that Jordan Neely died. I listened to some conservative nonsense saying, he got what he deserved. No, you ignoramus. He was mentally ill and needed help. His death is a tragedy, and he could have brought more good to society. However, his death was not murder. And I really hope I have a Republican counterpart on their 97 subscriber podcast telling their fan base, stop it. His death is not a good thing. He didn't get what he deserved. But Daniel Penny didn't get what he deserved, which would have been a thank you from the mayor and maybe a round of applause. He should not have been arrested when you look at the facts in detail. Jumping to conclusions immediately and then staying loyal to your incorrect conclusions is what hurts society. Racism is real. Racism hurts society. Racism is disgusting. But what doesn't help fix racial issues in America is calling something racism when it's not. Trying to compare this situation to George Floyd and Derek Chauvin is either ignorant or in bad faith. Derek Chauvin murdered somebody who was helpless and not causing or threatening anybody. Derek Chauvin was racist and got what he deserved. Penny, although acquitted, his life is forever changed. Now, let's look at the first reason why it wasn't racist. Well, you don't see the far left news reporting that when Penny put the chokehold on him after he threatened various riders of the subway that he was going to attack them if they didn't give him food or water, Penny, who was a Marine, thank you for your service, served our country, put him in a chokehold because he was actively threatening people. And he went into his pocket, and this is what the witnesses say. However, he did not have a gun, but made it look like he had a gun. But when he got him to the ground, two other passengers helped keep him on the ground. Guess what? They were black. Why weren't they prosecuted? Why aren't they accused of being racist? Why? Because Alvin Bragg wanted a political, racial win, especially after the Trump dismissal of that case, of the case he brought. He wanted to throw somebody under the bus and look really good. Shame on you, Alvin Bragg. This wasn't racism. George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, Rodney King, absolute racism. But calling something racism when it's not only emboldens more racism. And personally, I discuss it. Why isn't the far left, the people calling it racism, talk about the fact that two of the police who showed up refused to give him CPR because they said, he's an IV drug user. I don't want to get AIDS. They pumped his chest, but they wouldn't do mouth to mouth. They might have been racist. I don't even know. I couldn't find their names. I couldn't find their races. But I know they weren't fired. And this is what the witnesses said. Disgusting. Also, now, this, I don't know for sure, but it just seems kind of weird. Okay? And I know I practiced criminal law in the past, but it's something I never saw in practice, observing in law school. So I just found it weird. We'll leave it at that. On, I believe it was Friday, the jury came back and said they were hung. Penny had 2 charges against him: second-degree manslaughter and the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. So, the defense, properly, credit where it's due, asked for a mistrial. The prosecution asked for the second-degree manslaughter charge to be dropped. And the judge dropped it. I've never seen a charge dropped after deliberations had started. I've just never seen it. So I find it a little weird that the judge really wanted to get a conviction. So you can see that there was heated debate going on to the point that they came back and said they were hung. Spent the weekend, let it digest, came back, and within 2 hours of deliberating, found him not guilty of criminally negligent homicide, which has such a low threshold. Let me find out the threshold. threshold for New York criminally negligent homicide. Let's see. Under our law, a person is guilty of criminally negligent homicide when, with criminal negligence, that person causes the death of another person. The following term in that definition has a special meaning. A person acts with criminal negligence with respect to death. Look how low of a standard this is. That person engages in blameworthy conduct so serious that it creates or contributes to a substantial or unjustifiable risk another person's death will occur, and when he or she fails to perceive that risk, and when the risk of such nature and degree that failure to perceive it constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that a reasonable person would observe. So it's not the same type of negligence in a civil suit. The standard is less. All you have to do to be convicted is think maybe you're doing the wrong thing and could kill someone. Probably not, but maybe. And the people who wanted to convict him, once they let it digest a little longer, said he wasn't even guilty of the lower charge. Not looking good. Not looking good. Whenever there's a shooting, they always talk about mental health, and I agree. We should be talking about mental health. And this is one where, yes, the conversation should be about mental health. There was not a gun involved. But instead, they had to bash a heroic Marine. Which, for all we know, Neely could have made good on his threats. He did have a record. I'm not going to read it, doesn't matter. But this wasn't racist. One thing I did disagree with with Penny and his team on was on Fox News, they showed him celebrating, drinking, toasting at a local bar. I can understand why he would feel the need to celebrate, but someone died. It's not a cause to celebrate. So for that, I say Penny, bad. But that's it. This was not racist. Now, this may be a little controversial, but the victims, and he's a victim, just not of murder, not of criminally negligent homicide, of other things. His father said, because they threw mics in front of him, and I just talked about how Joe Biden lost children. I am sympathetic to anyone who loses a child. I just lost a parent, which is the order it's supposed to go in. And I'm a wreck. So, his father said, I miss my son. And I'm sympathetic. But where was his father intervening when his son showed signs of mental illness. Why? Fathership doesn't end at age 18. Why didn't he make sure his son had food in his stomach and a roof over his head? Maybe if he did his job, this incident on the subway, this tragedy, wouldn't have happened. I don't know. I don't know their story. I at one point was kicked out of my house, and it ended up being the right thing to do because it's what I needed. But I didn't suffer from the mental illnesses that the victim did. I just suffered from low self-esteem, trying to have a big ego. That was my issue. But again, this is a tragedy. He did not deserve to die, and anyone saying he got what he deserved, shame on you. But really watching the left trying to turn this into a race issue and acting a fool. Third dumb thing comes from Joe Biden himself. And people know I like Joe Biden. I was upset when he dropped out of the election. I was the one, along with, I'm going to say it, Alan Lichman, saying that the incumbent Joe Biden had a better chance of winning and could have overcome that bad debate with time. Well, he said something really dumb. He praised the removal of Assad from Syria and said, now the U.S. has a working chance of peace and a relationship with Syria. Anyone see the problem there? Anyone want to take a quick guess? Oh wait, I'm not alive. Okay. First off, let's get it out of the way. Assad was an animal. He killed his own people. He was a disgusting person who is now going to spend the rest of his years living his life lavishly in Russia. Yeah, I'm sure he's pissed off he was overthrown. Wasn't killed. But there's a new interim PM. There's a new sheriff in town in Syria, Prime Minister Mohammed Ghazi al-Jalisi. I'm sure I butchered that. Who has called for free and fair elections. When has there ever been an overthrowing of a government without a government ready to take over that has free and fair elections immediately? The U.S. can't even say that. Look at your 1776 history. Also, let's look at Mohammed Ghazi al-Jalabisas, who I'm just going to call MGJ, because I can't keep saying that. Yeah, when did MGJ join the military? 2003. What was happening in 2003? Well, I was at Boston University. I was a sophomore. I was pledging Sigma Alpha Epsilon, and I was against the Iraq War before it was cool. He joined the Iraqi army to fight against the U.S. insurgent. And from 2006 to 2014, MGJ was a resident of a U.S. military prison. When he got out, he was a founding member of ISIS. Back in 2003, he was an active member of Al-Qaeda. This guy has done nothing to make us think we can work with him. He is anti-democracy. He is anti-United States. Once again, Assad, awful human being. Awful. He's not, his only punishment is history will say he was overthrown. But I'm sure Putin has him put up nice. But what's happening in Syria right now? Well, Israel is bombing the SHIT out of them. They weren't before, but they see instability. I don't want to say Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, because I support Israel. I don't support the Netanyahu government. But let's look at history. What happened when Gaddafi fell? There's slave trading today in Libya. Gaddafi, awful human being. The world, better place with him dead. Actually, I take that back. Not a better place. Because in his disgusting, murderous way, he kept stability. And more people have died due to him being overthrown than if he were not. Both awful decisions. Gotta choose the lesser of two evils. And when George W. Bush went into Iraq to finish what his daddy couldn't do and take out Saddam based on a lie that there were weapons of mass destruction, putting a blemish on the storied career of General Colin Powell. That's what led to the rise of ISIS. Don't let people tell you it was Obama. It was Bush. By taking out Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, once again, awful human being. Disgusting. Killed his own people. But then, with no leadership, no stability, no peace. And there's still no peace. And I'll go back to when the U.S. became a country. We just declared independence. The Declaration of Independence is not a government document of law. It's just saying, peace out, king, and the reasons. So, the farmers had no idea who was governing them, which led to, I'd say, the War of 1812. No, it didn't. I got my ears messed up. But what it led to was the states not being unified. Because until the Constitution was written, we treated America like 13 individual countries with 13 different currencies, 13 different sets of laws, and you needed a passport to go from state to state. Why? Because we declared independence without a government to replace it. Just overthrowing a government leads to instability. In America, we fixed the problem without bloodshed. The Middle East has not proven they have the ability to do that. So, Joe, you don't care anymore. That's obvious. You got the sunglasses inside. You're walking around. You're doing high fives. Like, you know you're leaving. But stop saying dumb stuff that the Republicans can just use footage of over and over again. And I like it, Joe. Now, I don't want to go into why we lost. And yes, we lost. You notice there's no lawsuits from the Harris campaign saying it was rigged? Because it was a free and fair election. Just like 2020. But we're at this unfortunate point where if one party wins, they're going to fight it, even though there's no reason. If the other party wins, they accept it with honor. But look, we lost against a treasonous man who led an insurrection, who at the same time, while being a very smooth talker, is really dumb. Trump is not a smart man. And now, I bet you, Thomas and Alito retire, and I hope it doesn't happen, but Sotomayor is not in good health. So we could see a 7-2 conservative Supreme Court by the end. Hope we don't. Hope it's just Alito and Thomas replacing a conservative with a conservative. But it's possible. Why? Anyone who says they know the reason why Harris lost, turn off. Because there is not one reason. There's many reasons, which I will do on a future YouTube video. But I'm going to talk about one reason, because I had a conversation with two people where I turned them. They were Democrats, but they really didn't want to vote for Harris. They were upset at how the Biden administration is dealing with the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people. I sat for hours and I convinced them. Or they just didn't want to hear me talk anymore and wanted me to STF you, but we're polite people. So said, thank you, good points, we have changed our minds. The next day, Dick Cheney endorses Harris. Now, Harris has no control over who endorses her. she does have control over what endorsements she accepts. Lynn Cheney, who cares? People who were very much against and very much remember the Bush administration didn't know there was a Liz Cheney. Or Liz Cheney. I don't even know. But they knew Dick Cheney. So she said, well, we're trying to unify and bring the party together. Well, those two people called me and said, sorry. And I bet you her accepting that endorsement cost her quite a few votes. One support I had of Donald Trump in 2020 was when David Duke, the Grand Master of the KKK, endorsed him. The liberals were holding that against him. And I said, you have no control over who endorses you. You have control over if you accept that endorsement. Now, of course, Trump was a liar about it, but it said, I don't know no David Duke. Who are you talking about? What's going on? Because the hate mongers were Trump voters. But he never said, I accept that endorsement. Had he said that, Hillary Clinton would probably be president right now. And the Democrats now lost the popular vote. That makes one of my 2020 predictions incorrect. I knew Trump would win this election, and I called it on that day. I was in the hospital, couldn't make a video about it, but if anyone wants to go to that hospital, I'll tell you which one it was, and I had 3 nurses verify it. Jon Stewart tried to help by saying, F you, Dick Cheney, that night with a picture of him. It was such a bad idea to accept it. The Democrats got 6,336,664 less votes, less popular votes than they did in 2020. In contrast, the Republicans got 3,013,967 more votes than they did in 2020. So that is a swing of, let's see, have computer calculator here. That's a swing of 9,350,651 votes. I'm not going to say they all were Biden supporters who then voted for Trump. I'm sure there are other reasons. But that is a swing from Democrat to Republican of 9,350,631. If we keep acting a fool, I bet you that number is higher. We don't have to just follow the corporate line. Democrats need to stop with if they say A, we have to say B, no matter what. There were problems at the border. No, there aren't. I don't know what you're talking about. While Trump was doing every podcast possible, Harris was paying Al Sharpton $500,000 and Oprah $1.5 million to do softball interviews. Softball. And people like me who voted for Harris, because the Supreme Court mainly knew this and either voted for Trump or stayed home. Shame. Shame. If she couldn't do Joe Rogan, I could do a Joe Rogan podcast. Actually, Joe, invite me on, and you're invited on to my YouTube station. Anytime, any place. I will fly out and do your podcast, and you can grill me with as many difficult questions as possible. She did like a 15-minute interview on Fox News, just to like check off. I went on Fox News. Well, Mayor Pete Buttigieg is on Fox News all the time. Maybe the Democrats should have had an open primary. Would have we won that? I don't know. But I know with what we did do, we lost. The populace of both parties, I believe, would end up voting Democrat if they're truly populists. Because their similarities outweigh their differences. And the Democrats need to focus on that. And shame on Joy Reid of MSNBC for telling her viewership before Thanksgiving to either don't go to your Trump supporting family's Thanksgiving dinner or just ignore them. Sorry, they got more votes than we did. They beat us in the Electoral College twice, in the popular vote once, which means if we just ignore them, we can't talk to them with a loving hand and an understanding hand about why it's in their best interest to vote Democrat. I would cancel her show. I will end on a little bit of a happy note. Everyone knows I like the way Ben Shapiro debates, but I don't agree with anything he says. I don't watch Matt Walsh. He's an idiot. I used to watch Candace till I believed she was insincere and just doing it for money. That she just has people whispering into her ear, these are your talking points today, and getting paid for it. But I believe Ben Shapiro is sincere to his beliefs, and I will listen to anybody who is sincere to their beliefs. I won't listen to people who I believe are saying it for money. But first, He said the right thing. He rightfully condemned the killing of Thompson, but he didn't stop there. He defended the U.S. healthcare industry. And for the first time, his own fans turned against him. I think the dislikes on that video were like 85%. His own people, I was reading them. Ben, I've been a fan of yours for X amount of years, but my grandmother couldn't get her medication because, and there's thousands, millions of stories like that. So, in a way, Ben Shapiro brought a sense of unity amongst the Republicans and Democrats against the corporate oligarch that is the healthcare system. So, thank you. Ben, thanks, buddy. I don't know if that's appropriate. But, either way, the Democrats took a week where they could be blasting Trump's choice for Department of Defense, along with his awful talking points when he went on Meet the Press, but instead we had to publicly support murder, go after a Marine for protecting citizens, and saying we can work with and have peaceful relations with a government that's now led by someone who has done nothing but try to kill Americans. Stop with the stupidity. We're going in a direction where we have a good senatorial map in 2026. But if we keep going this direction, we will lose seats in the House and Senate. We already didn't flip them like we thought we would. But it'll only get worse. And what's next in 8-1? Conservative Supreme Court. A 9-0. Conservative Supreme Court. That scares me. That scares me. The only reason we had a liberal Supreme Court at one point was because Franklin Roosevelt had 4 terms. Well, 3 terms and 1 week. But the Democrats were in charge for 4 terms. And that's, do the math, 16 years. And the justices were old. They're getting older. Liberal populism is popular. I'll even take liberal out of it. Populism is popular when explained. Nobody likes seeing a CEO make $16 million a year when they can't afford their medicine. But killing the CEO only makes him a martyr and will cause a loss of votes. People who are on the fence about voting Democrat, we're giving them no reason to, because we're acting like idiots. And I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit during the campaign season. I should have been harder on Harris. That's my fault. That's my burden to bear. Okay, Love you all. Even the crazy Democrats. But we're over an hour. Damn. Don't be stupid. Be peaceful. Be loving. And explain with love why populism is good and the ruling class is bad. You get more with a loving hand than you do with a sword. Pretend this bullet spray bottle is a sword. Okay, tomorrow I plan to go long form on Trump's cabinet picks and why. There's one we validly should be attacking, but why we need to let up on the attacks on the others. Let up, I said, not stop. See you tomorrow.